Rico Muhammad. Will be joined shortly by my co-host. Hope everyone is doing well. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started. Remember, we have started the new platform, the new programming with the videos and everything. So we're on Instagram. We're broadcasting live on Instagram. We're broadcasting live on Facebook on a couple of different pages. And we're also broadcasting live on YouTube. If you don't mind, please, you would do us a great favor and service if you would go to any one of those, wherever you're watching us at, like, share, and subscribe. If you could tell someone to tell a friend to tell a friend about the show, we greatly would appreciate it. It helps us grow. And if you find this information that we bring to you guys useful, by all means, we're trying our best to get the word out as best we possibly can. So make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. If you're watching us on Facebook or even on YouTube, you have the ability to use the chat feature, which means you can type us a question. If you have a question, all you have to do is type it down into the chat box. We'll see it, we'll bring it up, and we'll answer your question or try to involve that question into the conversation as quickly as we possibly can. So with that being said, and without any further ado, let's jump over into this week's trend lines reports from DAT. The weekly snapshot, we're showing that spot load postings were down by almost 12% on DAT's load boards, and we're showing that spot truck postings were up by almost 5%. We're showing that the van spot market rates were down by almost 3%. Flatbed spot market rates were down by almost 2%, and reefer spot market rates were down by nearly 4%. We're showing that the national average price of diesel fuel, which is going to be very important topic of what we're going to get into a little bit later on in the show, but the current national price of diesel fuel sits at about $4.52 per gallon. That is a change of 0.7 percentage points from this time last week. So with that being said, and without any further ado, I'm going to welcome in my co-host for the week. This week is, as always, Mr. Chuck Snow. Good evening, Chuck. How are you?
We're doing great, Rico. How are you?
Doing well. I'm very excited for tonight's show. We're going to
you and me both.
We're going a little green, so I got my green smoothie on board, and I'm looking forward to tonight's conversation. I'm really excited about the guest that you secured for us tonight. Won't you tell us a little bit about our guest, and we'll get ready to go ahead and introduce him.
Well, Don Peer. Oh, hello.
Yeah, you're still there.
Don Peer is. You there, Rico?
Yes, sir.
Okay, no, the power went over. Don Peer is from a company called Zeem, and they're on the cutting edge of getting electric.
Oh, Chuck seems to be freezing up on us a little bit. Not sure what. We lost him altogether. We'll see if he pops back in. Well, with that being said, technical difficulty, everybody. Sometimes, technology is great when it works, and sometimes it isn't. There he is. I don't know what happened.
So Don is with Zeem Solutions, and my son was in Las Vegas at a conference and met up with Don and actually just to get me going. Sent me a video of himself riding in a electric truck because he knows I'm a diesel fanatic, as you and I have been talking about for years. And he said, "You got to talk to these guys. These guys are on the cutting edge." So I did. And you know what? I was so taken by what Don and everybody at Zeem was doing. I said, "Don, you got to come on the show and share this, because this is the greatest thing I've heard in trucking in a long time, because it can get electric trucks into single truck operators' hands without the expense, and it makes sense when you hear what Zeem is doing. It's just a phenomenal platform. So with no further ado, let's bring Don on. Don, you there? Welcome to the show.
I'm here.
Great to have you on. Thanks for joining us.
No, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be with you guys.
No, this is really exciting because I've been a little bit of a little hesitant when it comes to electric trucks, and my friend Rico's been the opposite. I've had to talk him off the ledge a few times when he was going to buy a Tesla. And
I wanted to put a deposit on the Tesla truck, so
So I'll stick with Rico for most of the night then.
but you know what? I got to tell you, Don. After we spoke last week, you you kind of changed my way of thinking. I think that anybody that is operating trucks that can utilize an electric truck with your platform would be silly not to. Like, why would
No,
you want to use anything else?
No, I agree. And really, that's the mission statement of the company. It's to make it easy, hassle free, and able to go electric tomorrow through our solution. And that's really where we came up with the Zeem model.
Well, I think it's, you know what? I think your model is brilliant. I really do. Um,
So listen, everybody. I'm just going to jump in real quickly. I just posted a link to Zeem Solutions website. If you want to go over there and check them out on their website, we had a brief little chat before we came on the air. I was absolute the brief things that we spoke about absolutely blew me away. So, Dunn, if you don't mind, I'm going to see if I can hit the reverse button on you and get you to rewind. That's all the great things that you told us before we came on the air. And like I said, in honor of you guys being here, I got my green smoothie. So
Well, absolutely. And, I basically speak to this every day, all day long. I'm basically out there evangelizing for the company all day and have been, for the last 6.5, 7 years now. So, what we've done is made it incredibly easy for fleets to go electric. You could essentially operate an electric vehicle fleet from one of our depots tomorrow if you wanted to. So, what we do is we tie a vehicle, a commercial electric vehicle, whether it's class 8, class 5, class 6, cargo vans, shuttle buses, and we package that with charging, full service and maintenance, including tires, brakes, everything, secure on site parking, and even wash it a couple times a month from our depots. So essentially, what your drivers would do is instead of starting their day at your site, they would come to our depot, pick up a fully charged, clean, inspected vehicle at the gate, operate it all day, drop it off when they're done, and then we just take care of everything else. We charge it, we maintain it, we wash it. The sites are manned 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year in a secure site. And we just make it very easy and affordable to operate commercial electric vehicles. We have a fully operational site in Los Angeles right now, right next to LAX. We have the Port of Newark in Newark, New Jersey, coming online in June, as well as Santa Ana, California, in Anaheim, followed by Houston, Seattle, SeaTac, Savannah, Georgia, very shortly this year. And we have a mandate to open 25 more of these over the next 3 years throughout the country.
man, Savannah getting one before Atlanta.
Savannah's getting one before Atlanta. Savannah's hot right now.
Port
And
market, I understand.
Yep, yeah, Savannah's a very interesting location. So Savannah will get one most right now before Atlanta. That could change. You never know, but that's the target right now this year in 2023.
Good. Okay,
wow.
well, that was one of the questions that I didn't get a chance to get to before we came on the air. The locations. So that this is very interesting. So it's definitely something that's on the way. So I want the audience to know if you got a question, you can, like I said before, you can type your question into the chat. If you're on Facebook or if you're on YouTube, you can type it into the chat. We'll see it. We won't see it if you're typing on Instagram or any of the other platforms that we're on. But if you're on Facebook or if you're on YouTube, you can use the chat feature to type a question, and we'll try to definitely make sure that we ask and get your question weaved into the conversation. And with that being said, I spoke to you earlier. I asked you a very poignant question about, was this something that a small guy could be able to do? Because a lot of times when we hear of different innovations like these, we always see that the big guys are always the ones that are able to make the jump and able to secure this type of these type of vehicles and everything. And sometimes the smaller guys are very last or lagging to ever even try to even get on board. So with that being said, if you could explain to us again about the how it works as far as a small guy or whether you're a multi-million dollar mega million carrier.
That's exactly correct. And that's most of the reason that the company was formed. We formed the company to cater to small and medium sized fleets because what we saw, especially here in California and in New York, is there's a lot of subsidy available. There are a lot of programs available, a lot of incentives available. And these big fleets have policy teams that are chasing down every incentive, every program, and they're basically gobbling them up. If you're a owner operator or you're a small operation of, let's say, 5 to 50 units, you don't have time to chase down all these incentives. You don't have time to check out all of these vehicles. That's exactly what we did. Is we have a policy team on staff that their whole mission is to find every subsidy out there that's available. So when we lease you this vehicle, we've already researched every subsidy, applied on your behalf, married it to the vehicle, and then we flow those savings through to the end user. So in your monthly price, all of that is taken into consideration. So we do all of that work for the smaller, medium-sized fleet. The upfront costs when it comes to commercial electric trucks blows people out of their chair. You're looking at a Class 8, a 425,000 to $500,000 truck, $250,000 in infrastructure. You're looking at a possible 300 or $750,000 investment to operate one Class 8 EV truck. You could essentially operate one from our depot for $12,000, $14,000 tomorrow. 1 month lease payment down, your first month's lease, and then you're operating a commercial electric vehicle out of our LA depot for $6,500 a month.
It's for $6,500 a month. Okay, you know what? That includes the elect or some of the electricity. Explain how
So
that
that
works.
includes all of it. So basically, in that package, it's the truck, which is yours for 5 years, just like if you leased it from anywhere else. All the
Correct.
charging. So your fuel is in that price. All the service and maintenance is in that price. Your tires, your brakes, your location, your parking is in that price, and 2 washes a month. So you essentially know what you're going to be paying for fuel for the next 5 years on your vehicle. You don't even have to worry about it when you're making your projections.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
That is absolutely incredible. Man,
So when we were talking before, just before the show, you were saying that it's 150. Like most of your LA-based carriers are doing 150 miles in a day.
So the trucks can do 150 to 300 miles, the Class 8. The Class 5 and 6 do about 150 miles. The Class 3 cargo vans, the Class 3 and 4 cargo vans do about 100 to 150 miles. So range constriction is definitely one of the major hurdles right now. But
Right.
the depots are positioned in places where there's lots of last mile delivery. So a driver in Los Angeles could be out there all day for 8 to 10 hours and only go 75 miles,
Oh yeah.
in a day. So it fits real well. Container shuttling, it's perfect for, because you're just sitting there running containers from the port to a warehouse all day, just making that trip over and over again. So they work great for drayage operations, intermodal operations. They're phenomenal.
So on a truck that would do 300 miles a day,
Mhm.
uh, what would the lease price be, including the energy cost?
You'd probably be a lot closer to around $8,500 to $9,000 a month, because now you're doubling the amount of charging,
Yeah.
you're doubling the amount of service and maintenance that would be involved, and of course, wear and tear on the vehicle.
But if I'm doing my math correctly, and I'm just going to use California as an example, it's pretty close to $1 a mile for fuel in California.
Yeah,
Uh,
you'd be at 6,000 a month just in fuel if you
right.
were doing that,
So
and
now all of a sudden you're $2,500 a month for a truck, including maintenance for a brand new truck. You can't get that anywhere.
These are
Well,
some nice trucks too, and they
and
have
well,
a
not only
ton
that,
of.
you're looking at your maintenance is included in that.
Yeah,
Your parking. So it's really that's
this is a
really an
no-brainer,
asset deal.
Rico.
It really is. That's why I'm a little upset that Savannah's getting one before Atlanta.
Last time
Well,
I looked, Miami is a bigger city.
Right.
do you have a location in Atlanta?
Yes, I'm located in Atlanta.
But that's another thing and an interesting thing we do. When we talk to someone like yourself that has a location in Atlanta, if you had excess yard space, so let's say you've got 3 or 4 acres in Atlanta where you're operating from, and you could parcel 2 acres off. What we would look to do is partner with you at that site. We would come in. We at our cost, we would put in all of the EV charging infrastructure, the service and maintenance. We also offer amenities, so I'll get to that too, and then look to secure a long-term lease with you, give you like most favored nation pricing on your vehicles, your units that we'd be running out of there, and then look to operate a fleet of our own. Our depot locations offer even more. So essentially, we have a building with Wi-Fi access, locker rooms for the drivers, lockers for the drivers, and then we're also doing like a WeWork type where we'll even lease office space. So let's
Interesting.
say you're in Atlanta right now, and we have depots in Seattle, Savannah, Newark, New Jersey, Los Angeles, California. You could essentially be operating out of any place we are. All you would essentially need to do is get drivers and routes because you've got your vehicle, you've got your location. We'll even rent you an office for X amount a month, a little office like this one I'm in now. Put your name on the door. Now you're national fleet. So you could essentially grow with us across the United States as we open these depots. And we could co-locate at your facility as well if you
So
had
if
the
you
space.
so if that was an if that so there's an let me make sure I'm hearing it correctly. Slow me down if I got this thing misconstrued.
It's a lot
Okay.
here.
So there's an
You got to slow me down. If I get carried away on this stuff, you won't get me to stop talking.
That's all right.
so there's a potential opportunity to be had for someone if they had the land in order for you guys to come in and partner with them. Now, would there be an opportunity for them to lease that? Because since you're bringing in, is that just a trade off for them to have the vehicle to be able to have access to the charging, or would there be an opportunity for them to also maybe participate in some type of revenue sharing or something like that?
Well, I mean, that's something that we might be open to, but what we would be looking for is a long-term lease on that property so that we could recoup our infrastructure costs
Right.
essentially. So like probably a 15-year minimum, 30 years is what we'd really be looking for. And we'd look to long-term lease that for you. We would consider you an anchor customer, basically filling X amount of that depot with your fleet. And then we would look to operate fleets of our own. So we'd basically be like a tenant and a
On your
provider at the
property.
same time.
Got it.
There's
Got
no,
it.
Don, there's no, at your depots, there's no need or reason to have trailer parking. It's just truck and tractor and semi parking, correct?
Yeah, so basically it depends on the depot location. So the port operations, there will be trailer parking and container storage. Yeah, because you're going to want that. You're not going to want you're going to want to avoid the deadhead cost of
Right.
coming to ours, then going to your location, picking up an empty, going to the port, swapping out with a full, or dropping back off when you're done at your location and then coming back to the depot. So the port operations, there will be sufficient space for trailers as well. That'll probably be an additional cost.
Okay. You know what? I was actually just thinking as we were doing our warm up, there's probably room for some of the carriers to actually run their own shuttle, so their drivers aren't spending a lot of time, going to pick up the truck and bring it back to the terminal where there is no trailer parking, but they've got the trailer at their terminal, and they can just have drivers running back and forth.
I would swear you've been with us for years. We offer that. So
Thank you.
we offer that. We absolutely do. So we're partnered with companies that are in the parking space, for instance, and a lot of what we do are shuttle buses. especially out of the LAX depot. We've got about 70 electric shuttles, and they're like Mercedes Sprinter. They're 9 to 19 passenger. So we would actually offer a shuttle for your drivers, and we would do that shuttling for you, and we would just, work something out and do that shuttling. That's something we are offering. Yes.
Well, that is great because it's a driver can use up a half hour even on his logbook every day. That's 2.5 hours a week that that he's not using.
Well, here's the thing about that. So I don't know what your drivers are being paid, but if you look at the Port of Long Beach, and we just kind of use our LA depot as an example, the Port of Long Beach charges every truck that comes in there a $20 fee because they're coming in with a diesel.
Right.
Now, if you come in with an electric, you don't have to pay that $20 fee. So essentially, if your driver's taking an extra hour a day, okay, let's say you're paying them $25 an hour. If you're moving 6 containers, you just saved $120 of not paying that $20 fee.
Yeah.
So it works out. And most ports are like that. I'm not sure about the Port of Newark, but a lot of ports are like that. I also know on the other end that that's a pass along to the customer, the freight broker. But I mean, I would imagine that would still get passed on because you never know what truck is coming to the port. So
exactly, and the customer's going to pay it.
Yeah, so that actually would not only make up for your driver's deadhead time, but you'd probably be a little ahead of the game by saving that $20 per container if that's what you're doing.
So, Don, and just to kind of follow up a little bit more, we were talking about pricing. So the rebates and incentives, the tax incentives and everything that are available out there from different municipalities and everything like that, you guys have already done the legwork to make sure that all of that stuff is packaged in, and you guys are rolling that into the pricing as a give back to the customer as well, or is that's just automatically all inclusive?
So that's exactly right. So essentially what we're doing so one of the major barriers is cost, like we talked about. So in order to get the price down to where it's comparable with diesel, we're first bulk purchasing the vehicles. So we're negotiating with the OEM. We're buying 100, 500 units at a time to get the price down. Then our policy team is working with the various government agencies. We are doing that for the end user. We're getting the voucher for the customer, and we're taking that off the price of the vehicle. So that way, by the time you get your packaged lease, you're getting the benefit of that voucher, that incentive, as well as the bulk pricing that we can get, because you're not a 500 or 1,000 vehicle fleet. You're an owner operator. Right. So you can't negotiate a 100 unit price, whereas we can, or 1,000 unit price. So we're using our buying power and marrying in all the state, local, and federal incentives and passing that through to you.
And also, so one of the things that you guys could, if you happen to be in the market where you guys are operating right now, if you're listening in to the show, if you happen to stumble across this is a killer opportunity for your company, because then you can utilize this as a feature, an added value feature to go to approach different customers, because now you have the ability to offer them zero emissions as far as being a green company. This helps incentivize potential clients, customers, and shippers to actually want to get in line and do business with you. So it's really really advantageous especially if you're in the markets where they are right now and get on, being an early adopter. I know it may be a little intimidating going from diesel fuel going over to an all green application, but I find very little things that give me pause about the stuff that I'm hearing so far.
Now, Don, I got to ask you. Pretty much most of your trucks are tandem axle, I presume.
The Class 8, yes.
Okay, and what's the weight of these trucks?
So they're heavier than the diesel equivalent because of the batteries. So to give you an example, the Nikola is about 29,000 pounds dry weight.
Whoa.
So what California does is they give you a GVWR allowance where those trucks can be 82,000 pounds when they hit a scale. So the maximum, payload weight on those is going to be about 38,000 pounds, or you'd be over.
Wow, that's
So
yeah.
they're heavier. Yep, they're definitely heavier with the batteries.
I'm really surprised. California with all their green incentives, because and I understand the how sensitive things are there because they've got to be green. Because I remember the days when you'd spend a day in LA and your eyes would actually burn from the smog. It's not that long ago. It's only in the last 20 years that would happen. Um, but I'm surprised they don't give you a larger allowance so you could scale 44,000 pounds with them.
A lot of what we do and the policy team that we're talking about, we don't just, track these programs. We're actually influential in shaping these programs. We're doing a lot of lobbying. And one of the things we were influential in doing is the ISEF program here in California that caters to small fleets. So these are things that we're working on with these various agencies to show to them and to get more traction. So we are actively lobbying, these agencies on things just like that.
Yeah, because it's I think a lot of jurisdictions would rather have a truck that's and allow that extra weight. Now I know some of the engineers would be cringing if they were listening to this show, going, "What the hell's that guy talking about?" We have bridge laws and everything else, and I don't know how else. I guess, and this is one area I don't know a lot about, but I do see some of the heavy haulers have uh, they're 3 axle because of the
I'm
heavy.
not, yeah, I haven't seen one of those yet. Not saying that it couldn't be out there, but we don't have any right now in the fleet.
Right.
How
Um,
how long does it typically take for a Class 8 vehicle to recharge? What are the charging times on those?
So that's a great question. So it depends on the charger. And this is a lot of what's daunting for fleets to go electric too. What charger do I buy? Or will the charger actually handshake with the truck? A funny thing is, not all chargers work with all vehicles. And what you'll see happen, and it's pretty common, somebody will go out there and buy a truck and a charger, plug it in, and nothing will happen because that
Wow.
charger and that truck aren't compatible. And that's a lot of the research and knowledge that Zeem has as well. So, what we have on site, there are level 1 chargers, level 2 chargers, and level 3 chargers. And what we have are a bulk of level 3 DCFC fast chargers. Out on site right now in LEX, we have, I think, about 70 level 3 chargers that can do 184 kilowatts an hour into the battery. Then we have a large number of level 2 chargers, which can do maybe 19 and a half kilowatts an hour. So a class 8 truck with, let's say, a 700 kilowatt battery pack, we could charge in about 3.5 hours. And that's at about 184 kilowatts of energy into the battery per hour.
So is that from is that so explain it to me like I'm a 2-year-old.
Okay.
So is that from a fully depleted battery out of a Class 8 truck, or is that one that still kind of has a little bit of juice left in it?
So let's say you were going 150 miles a day. You'd be using about half the battery. We could charge that truck back up in about an hour and a half. Okay. Let's say you brought it down to completely empty, which you never do. You usually bring it down to about 20% is as low as you want to go. If it was completely drained to class 8, it would take about 6 hours or 3 hours rather to charge back up with our DCFC fast chargers.
Okay. Okay.
Now, a class
have you
5 box truck, on a level 2 charger could take 6 or 7 hours overnight. There are certain vehicles that you can charge overnight on a slow charge. Battery maintenance is a big thing too. You can't just constantly fast charge a battery. And that's what a lot of people don't realize as well, because the cells become imbalanced and you'll have mechanical issues. So a
Okay.
lot of what we do is battery maintenance as well, where we'll take a truck and put it on a level 2 charger, overnight or over the weekend when you're not using it, and balance all your cells out by slow charging it.
So as you guys begin to grow this thing and develop your network and everything, there's a possibility of maybe being able to, say for instance, like Atlanta to Charlotte. It's about 250 miles from Atlanta, Georgia to Charlotte, North Carolina. It's about 250 miles one way. Atlanta to Nashville is about 250 miles one way. Is there maybe a thought to have charging, be able to be in network and be able to charge it? Say like if you're doing a shuttle run from Atlanta to Charlotte or Nashville to Atlanta, to be able to, when you get on the other end, charge it back up so you got enough juice to make sure that you can get back.
Absolutely. And that's what we're already starting to do in California, especially with the Santa Ana site coming online shortly. That's absolutely correct. If you were a Zeem customer out of our LA depot, you are more than welcome to stop at the Santa Ana site and charge, or the same thing. If you're at the Savannah Zeem depot and you're going to run to Atlanta and we have a hub in Atlanta, 100%, you would be able to charge there and head back, all covered in your plan. Absolutely, yes. So that's definitely something that we're working on as well.
Wow. And from what I understood, from what I got, I know you guys don't necessarily have any of the Tesla trucks, I don't think. But when he did his presentation and everything, and we know how slow all this process has been, but he claimed that that the maintenance and everything because the electric trucks the maintenance would be a lot less, as far as less different components to have to worry about. What are you guys finding with the vehicles that you have? Not that it's something that we need to personally be worried about, since it's all included in the price, but just curious to know, downtimes and stuff like that when it comes to from the experience so far with you guys have.
The maintenance is far less. I mean, you're not doing the oil changes. You're not doing the filter changes. The maintenance is a lot less intensive and less expensive on an electric vehicle. 100%. You're going to save a ton in maintenance on these vehicles.
Yeah, and a ton of downtime. I was just thinking the old diesel engines that I grew up with, the pre-emission ones, they were bulletproof. The newer stuff, because of all of the systems, the environmental protection systems and sensors and everything else, let's face it, they're not reliable. Even the newest and the best are not as reliable as the old stuff.
The CNG.
Yep. So you know what? I think the reliability factor on these things is like the old diesels. It's bulletproof.
There's just a lot less to break. They're really very simple machines. You basically have a motor, a drivetrain, a battery pack system, and then battery management software and power management software. They're very, very simple machines. There's just less moving parts. There's less to go wrong. Usually, if something does go wrong, it's software related, and it's a quick fix like that.
So are these trucks? I've driven a couple of Teslas and Tesla cars, not trucks. And I noticed that when I took my foot off the accelerator, it automatically worked as a Jake brake, without the sound, unfortunately. And and I had to throw that in. But it was reverse momentum. Do these trucks work the same way?
Absolutely. So we call that regenerative braking, and that's how you're getting a lot of your range. So every time you take your foot off the accelerator, the vehicle actually regenerates power back to the battery. That's that engine braking that you feel, or when you apply the brake. So it's kind of like an inverse relationship to your diesel truck. Stop and go traffic, operating these vehicles in a city environment actually increases the range you get on the vehicle, because when the vehicle is at a standstill, it's not idling, it's not utilizing any energy. Every time you take your foot off the accelerator, you're regenerating power back. Every time you hit the brake, you're regenerating power back. So that's exactly correct. most of these trucks, you can also control that and adjust that. So you could add more engine braking if you, or more, not engine, sorry, regenerative braking when you want to, or less. A lot of them will also increase it automatically as you get lower state of charge. So in a lot of the different vehicles that we operate, as you get lower in your battery state of charge, that engine braking, that regenerative braking will increase to start generating more power back to the battery.
Now, is there any adverse reaction on wet roads or icy roads?
No, no, they've been fantastic, and especially the additional weight, I think, has a lot to do with it as well, and the way it's dissipated throughout the chassis. I mean, they've been great in those conditions.
Wow, it's, you know what? You're convincing me.
So also a couple of other different questions that I got. Um, of course, by you think when you think battery operated, you think high technology and stuff like that. Is there any autonomous capabilities with these vehicles?
We're starting to see that a lot, and that's something that we're definitely on the cutting edge of, and something we're following very closely because we want to marry autonomous vehicles into this depot model. Autonomous vehicles, if they're battery operated vehicles, are better to begin with because there's no transmission. So it's a very smooth acceleration and deceleration. So electric vehicles are perfectly suited to be autonomous. And, we're working with companies now that have autonomous or they're going autonomous, and the depot model fits perfectly well with that. I know they have some like yard dogs out in Sweden that are already autonomous, that are moving around, that are battery electric. I forget the name of the company, but it's an interesting unit, and they've been very successful with it. So autonomous and electric go together perfectly.
And as far as safety features with for different things, what are our safety features and concerns, I guess? What would be some things that may from that aspect?
Most of your driving advanced safety features, these vehicles are already coming standard with, maybe even more safety features than you'll see in your diesel. So a lot of these are already equipped with all the modern safety vehicles you'd see if you bought any other brand new truck, if not more. Additional safety features, you have lines that are marked, with orange so that you know not to touch them because they're higher voltage lines, that type
Right.
of thing. But, there's pretty much not anything you can't touch in there. You don't want to disconnect anything or anything like that, but
Right.
high voltage wires are marked. But there's no need for any real additional safety.
Now, Don, have you experimented at all in colder climates with these things?
We have. So, what you're going to find in a colder climate, just like the battery in your cell phone, if it's sub-zero out, it's certainly going to sap some of the power of that battery.
Sure.
Most of these units have an actual warming feature that actually warms the battery, but that's
Oh,
still going to take excess energy and could
right.
certainly deplete your range,
Well,
Right.
speaking of cold, what about the heat though? Like if you're down here in this Georgia sun in the savannah, that heat
So,
that
So we're out here in California, and believe me, it gets hot. I live in the Inland Empire, the desert, and it's
okay.
110 degrees some days out here, most days in August and so on. So it's pretty much the same thing. When you're cooling the cabin with the air conditioning, it's going to take a little bit more of your energy. But the thing is, it's not like a school bus where you have this large space that you need to heat and cool. Those could take a lot of energy. The kind of trucks we're talking about, the cab over class 5 and 6, the cab of the class 8, it's not a huge space to keep cool. So it's not a tremendous drain, but there will be some, of course. And that's why you want to build it in. If an OEM tells me that their vehicle goes 200 miles, I already assume it goes 150 when it's fully loaded. And then if you're a customer, I want to tell you to keep it to 125.
Right.
If you're going to go over 125, it's not the vehicle for you. Build in a 20% buffer on that range for your super hot days, your super cold days, your days when, your driver's got to run to his house real quick for one reason or another. So when we talk about the range of the vehicles, you always want to be 20 or 30% below that range for your actual needs, just to be safe.
what if say for instance, because we're in transportation, we
Mhm.
always have to operate on the fly. Things happen.
Sure.
What if we happen to get caught up in, say, there's a accident, fatality on the highway or something like that, and it's shut down. There's no way to move or anything like that. I understand the range wise, but what about as far as time, like the time that it's being
Hours, yeah.
the
Yeah.
hour?
So that's not time is not a problem because, like I said, when you're just sitting, it's not like your diesel engine that's idling and it's burning fuel. When that unit's sitting, it's not expending any energy. If your foot's not on that accelerator, you're not drawing on that battery. So it would just be your air conditioner and your radio, which is not going to put a big enough dent in a 700 kilowatt battery pack, to make you lose 20 or 30 or 50 miles,
So you're
maybe five.
okay, so at night, if you've got your lights on, you've got your defroster on, and and all that good stuff, and or your heater, it's not going to make it much of a difference if you're
No,
sitting.
the range estimates, the range is basically assuming that you are going to be having the lights on all the time, pretty much, and that you're going to be running either the heat or the cooling system.
Oh, okay. Now, I guess with a battery operated truck, your heater's using up just as much juice as your air conditioner, isn't it?
I believe so. Now, I'm not an engineer. I mean, I know a great deal about them, but I wouldn't know
Obviously,
which one uses more. I would assume the heat.
really. Okay. Um, Now, tell me something. Have any of the OEMs for North America come out with a Class 8 cab over?
That Nikola is a cab over,
Oh, it is.
and yeah, it looks like a European truck. It is an amazing truck, and we went out and did a test drive at a customer site, and hooked up a 40-foot container with a 55,000 weight. The
Right.
guy did a U-turn in a 2-lane street with this truck with the 40-foot container on the back and
That's
was
good.
blown away. He did a U-turn in a 2-lane street, and everybody was, we were in the truck. We're like,
Yeah, you know
but
what?
he did
For
it.
inner city deliveries, there's nothing better.
It's a great truck.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll, just for
Your son
driving.
loved it.
What's that?
Doc loved it.
Yeah, I didn't realize he was in. I just saw the picture out the window and of the part of the dash, but he was really impressed with it. And of course, I couldn't hear anything because it was so quiet. Which that certainly added fuel to his ammunition.
Well, it's funny that you say that because drivers think stuff is broken all the time because they're now hearing things that they never
Right.
heard in their trucks before. They're hearing pumps. They're hearing all these different things because it is eerily quiet, and any little noise or anything like that you're going to hear because nothing's drowned out by engine noise.
Yeah.
I would
Um,
imagine that would be freaky because
Yep.
you used to hearing the loud pump and the compression of that diesel engine and everything, and you're used to, even with the newer trucks, they're a hell of a lot more quieter than the old trucks used to be.
Right.
But still, it's going from that to nothing. Man, that definitely will probably take some getting used to.
it's like driving a big golf cart.
You guys have to come out to LA and test drive some units.
You know what? That alone, you know what? Just to see what this is all about.
Don't
Just
threaten me with a good time.
Oh, we'd love to have you.
So, I'm trying to
how
think.
many, Don? If you don't mind me asking, how many vehicles do you have out already on lease?
So right now at the depot, we've got, I believe, 77 units, and quite a good deal of them are already out on lease. So we would be at capacity, I think, at about 250 at
Oh,
that
so you got a ways
location.
to go. Okay,
Yep. Yeah.
And
and
what
So
that's
we
type
just
still
the
have
Home
space.
Depot.
and
Pardon?
what type of makes do you guys have to offer on
So
those?
right now we have basically like a Sprinter van style vehicle. So it's a class 4 van, and it's either passenger or cargo. We have a lot of passenger. It's a class 4 like Mercedes Sprinter van looks like. We have a lot of class 5 box trucks with 18-foot boxes operating out of the depot right now. We have Dodge ProMasters, cargo vans, and we have Class 8 Volvo VNRs and Class 8 Nikola TREs. And we also have some Teslas operating out of there for a company, a limo company that's operating a large amount of Teslas out of there, essentially storing, charging, and maintaining and washing out of the site. So we're even doing some of those.
Okay. Wow. Now, are you getting a lot of interest from companies that want to own and manage their own electric vehicles, but have them done at your place where they actually own the asset? Are you seeing a lot of that?
No, so a lot of people, like we were talking about, like the lease versus buy, a lot of people want to own the vehicle to get the depreciation on the
Right.
unit.
Yeah.
So I think, something that we have in the works is some sort of capital lease where we'll be able to flow that through to the end user. But what is happening is a lot of companies went out there and placed large orders for these types of units. And what happens is they find out that it's going to be years possibly before they can get their infrastructure in because they can't get the power they need to the site. So they're waiting on the utility to bring the power there. Or they didn't realize that you're going to need switchgear and transformers that are going to take 2 years because of the chip shortage to get delivered to you. Or chargers, when they go to order chargers, they say, okay, thank you. We'll have them to you in about 18 months. So what happened is a lot of these companies jumped the gun and they put orders in on large numbers of these EVs that they could take delivery of, but they don't have a way to charge them. So yes, we are talking to those companies about domiciling their trucks at our depot, and we would basically charge them for parking and for charging and the other services if they want them. If you want us to do the maintenance, we could do that. So if you went out and bought 10 e-Cascadias, Freightliner e-Cascadias tomorrow and didn't have your infrastructure, we would definitely have you bring them to the depot. We could domicile them there. We'll charge you a flat rate for charging on those trucks. Maintain them if you want, wash them if you want. So if you wanted to own the vehicle and just utilize our depot services, absolutely. Absolutely.
So one of the challenges that I've heard and that I've read about with some of the things with trying to go to an early adaptation to EVs and everything like that is the concern about the charging facilities, like you were saying, being able to get enough power into those facilities
Absolutely.
in order for them to be able to charge vehicles. So if you is that one of the main hurdles as far as the rollout for you guys getting out into more locations is getting the capabilities to get the power up to support one of these locations?
Absolutely. So the site selection process is very intensive. And when we locate properties, one of the first things we do is look at how much power is available on the circuit at that property. So we need to know that there's enough energy there that we can bring to the site before we move forward with the depot. To give you an example, we have 10 megawatts of electricity coming into the site at LAX. I mean, that's a ton of power. That's a ton of power. And if you wanted to open something next door, you wouldn't be able to because we took it all. So, that's really something that you need to look at. And, what a lot of people find out too late, or,
I think that's what something that I read. Somebody was saying that it's like for one of these charging facilities, it's like the equivalent of like powering like SoFi Arena or something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. It depends on how many units,
Right.
but if you wanted to have 200 or 300 units, you're going to need 10 megawatts of electricity coming into that site, at least.
Don, have you guys ever looked at an antiquated factory site? Because they usually have a lot of power.
Absolutely. Yep. We look at all different kinds of sites, and we spend a lot of time looking at sites, approving sites, but absolutely we're looking at all different types of sites. Yep.
And when do you think you'll be in the Chicago area?
So that's something we talk about. So Chicago comes up pretty often. Milwaukee even comes up often. But I would say within the next 3 years, Chicago will be there. It's not on the table for 2023, but we are looking at Chicago. We are
I'm
actively
surprised
looking at
it's such a truck hub. It's
Well, a
probably the
lot of it
biggest.
has to do with incentive as well, like what we talked about earlier. If the state doesn't have incentive available on the truck, it raises the price exponentially. So the reason you see us in New York, New Jersey, California to start, then Texas, Georgia, is because of those states' incentive programs are rich. The incentives are there for the charging, the incentives are there for the vehicle, so we can then bring you an affordable truck. So that's a lot of it has to do with where the state incentives are and following those incentives.
Yeah, we got a battery plant here that just came online not too long ago, right up the
Yeah.
street. Um, well, I'm looking at the time. We're getting close, Don. I want to give you an opportunity to tell everyone more about the company, where they can find you guys if they want to get in contact with you, or anything that you would like to leave us with before we get out of here. I definitely want to give you an opportunity to share as much information as you can, or anything that you haven't shared up to this point. If you want to get it out, I'm going to turn the floor
Sure.
over to you and allow you to do so.
Sure. I will shamelessly plug the company all day, every day. So it's zeemsolutions.com. And you can go to our website at zeemsolutions.com. You'll see videos there of our depot, recent TV news articles or broadcasts. You'll see the line of vehicles we have, the different types of vehicles that we have, current sites, upcoming sites. If you're going to be in the LA area, you're going to be coming into LAX. Our depot's right by LAX airport. You get a hold of me through our website. Would love to have anybody show them the operation, see the infrastructure, see the vehicles operating out of there, see the operations team and the depot coordinators. I would just love to have anyone stop by. I believe we're also on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a big one, Zeem Solutions. I'm on LinkedIn, Don Pierre. Um, and absolutely, we would love to have, there's a contact us through the website, which comes directly to our office here, that will happily answer any questions and speak to anyone. But if you're coming to LA, especially you guys, the best thing to do is to come see it. Because once you
Yeah,
come
no,
see it,
I'd love to.
you'll be,
Don, are you doing a lot of work with the air freight forwarders? Because there's numerous ones located right around LAX.
yeah. So what's interesting, and what we were talking about before with the air freight forwarders, what they're doing is they're going to their operators, the companies they're dealing with, and saying, "Hey, if you lease this electric vehicle from Zeem for 5 years, we'll give you a 5-year contract to move our air freight." And then they wrap it in their company's names, logos, everything else, the air freight, and then essentially they're a green company. So, like, even like your companies, if you're a 3PL and you're dealing with operators, absolutely go. And that's what's happening. They're going to their operators and they're even giving them a little bit more on the contracts too. So, absolutely, we are.
No, no, it's it sounds like an incredible platform. I think you guys are really heading in the right direction at the right time, especially with the cost of diesel fuel. And we talk a lot on this show, especially about how to get young people excited about trucking. And unfortunately, most young people don't share my passion for loud, old, smelly diesel engines. Um, you know they they want to be around something that is cutting edge and green, that's got a high level of technology. That's what excites young people, and I think I think that this is right up their alley.
Yeah, I mean, attracting young truck drivers.
Yeah,
And that's a big thing too, especially when you have a truck driver shortage out there and it's hard to
Right.
convince young people to drive trucks. It makes it more interesting for them and it will attract a younger truck drivers to the vehicle. Absolutely.
yeah.
Right.
There's an organization that we've actually had their CEO on, Next Gen Trucking, and they're really an advocacy group to uh, to send information and to help bring in younger people. They're working with schools and they're working with companies, and they're trying to bring in young people as apprentices for drivers as well as mechanics and tech, the tech side of things, all sorts of different positions. This would be right up their alley as well because it's pretty exciting stuff. It's not a lot has changed really in trucks, uh, until the last 5 years, 10 years or so. And then we've seen all sorts of great changes, and they keep coming at us. And I think this dovetails right into that.
We're just trying to make it easy for trucking companies to go electric. We're just trying to take down all the barriers and make it simple, easy, and headache free
I
I
did
really
ask you,
and
what is
affordable.
do you have a background in trucking, or how did you get into this?
No, so actually, our CEO and founder, Paul Gupis, he and I have known each other since we were children, and we were in investment banking and stock brokerage.
Oh, wow.
And it started with us doing the investment banking on one of the first electric truck companies, and that's kind of looking at it going all the way back to 1998. And seeing an electric truck OEM move through the phases is actually how we got a background in it.
wow.
And then he came up with this idea about 7 years ago, brought me in early on, and this has been my life and my passion ever since.
How
Man,
neat. Now, is
right.
that OEM still in business?
That one is not, no.
Okay. No, I know there's been a lot of startups.
Yeah, that was one of the first ones going back over 20 years ago. Yep.
Yeah, there's
These
a lot of
vehicles have
risk.
been around a lot longer than people realize.
So
Oh, yeah.
we might have to get our equipment together and have a field trip.
I think so.
I would love it. I would love it. We could do the show live from the depot.
Right.
Oh, wouldn't that be fun?
We might see if we can get a couple of cameras and a couple of drones and come out that way and see what we can see what kind of
Listen,
content.
even in the wintertime, it's 70 degrees every day. We could do it outside at the depot. You just let me know. We'll be ready.
I don't have to wear an overcoat.
Absolutely not. I mean, if you want to, you can. If you look good in one, we don't judge. It's
No.
LA.
You know what? When Canadians are in California and there's nobody on the beach and you see a guy out there sunbathing and swimming, you know damn well it's a Canadian.
Well, Don, I definitely want to thank you once again for being so gracious with your time, because you are out there on the West Coast, so technically you guys are still doing business hours and everything. We normally try to do the show at 7 o'clock East Coast time after business and everything shut down. But you've been so gracious with your time coming on and explaining so much to us and sharing so much with us about the company. We definitely are grateful for you doing so. Chuck, is it anything you want to say before we get ready to close out and get
No,
out of here?
I just want to. I just want to thank Don as well for taking some of his time to share it with us and our listeners. This was really informative. Certainly cutting edge. There's no two doubts about it.
Thank you so much. And you guys have been wonderful. It's been a really good time. I really appreciate you guys having me on.
But we're going to have an even better time when we get out to California.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna have to set that up. That's real. We're gonna have to set that up and try.
Yeah, we're going to do a show from there.
No, I'm ready when you are. That'll be a good time. I look forward to that.
Likewise.
Absolutely. We appreciate it, Don. We thank you again for taking time out to join us here on the Race and Lanes podcast. Everybody, the link to the website is pinned in the conversation there. You can just click on the link. It'll take you directly over to their website. Reach out to Don. Like he said, he's on LinkedIn. The company's on LinkedIn. I'm definitely going to make sure that I reach out. Chuck, before we get out of here, you want to tell the people how they can get in contact with you?
Yeah, best way to get in touch with me is send me an email to chuck@traffics.com. Put your phone number on. It's quite often easier for me to just call you back. And whatever you need, if you're having some challenges in your business right now, as some of the carriers are or brokers are, or if you're a carrier, you want to get set up with Traffics, I still know a lot of people there and can get you set up with one of the offices. And with that, Rico, I'll let you back her in a hole for another week.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for taking time out to join us tonight. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you took a little bit of time to hang out with us. And we're always eternally grateful for you doing so. If you don't mind, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the video. Tell a friend to tell a friend if you like the content that we put out tonight. any other time. If you find this information helpful and can help someone else that's in the transportation industry, by all means, introduce them to the podcast. Turn them on to it. And we definitely are humble and grateful for you doing so. And with that being said, we want everyone out there to stay safe, stay healthy, keep it in between the mustard and the mayonnaise, and we'll talk at you same time, same place, God willing, next week. God bless you and good night.
Catch you on the flip flop. God bless.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks again, Don.